Welcome to Slash Forward. In this horror movie recap, we're going to drop in on another examination of corporate violence in the 2017 film Mayhem. Unlike with the Belko experiment, the events unfold here organically as a result of a proactive quarantine to prevent an outbreak of the ID7 virus, a nasty little germ that heightens emotions and reduces impulse control. With only 8 hours before the antivirals being pumped through the ventilation system take hold, will Derek and Melanie have enough time to ride this wave of murderous intent all the way up to the penthouse so they may take their just desserts against the corporate overlords who have wronged them? And is it worthwhile to try to get your job back by killing your boss? We'll find out as we work our way through. In the meantime, be sure to let me know what you thought of this one in the comments below, and check out some similar movies that have been recapped on the channel. Let's get to it. We open on an artistic representation of the ID7 virus, a gnarly little bitch that tends to imbalance the brain in a decidedly impulsive direction. Deemed the red-eye virus for obvious reasons, it's been spreading worldwide for about 18 months now. Luckily, with a vaccine under development, we can at least take solace in the fact that the virus itself is non-lethal. Only the infected harm others. Oh, but that's all good as well, because due to the landmark case of Neville Reed, legal precedent has been set relieving the infected of any legal responsibility for screwing in the streets or even murder. We then transition to the consulting company responsible for this judicial outcome, Towers and Smythe. Superficially promoting honesty, integrity, and loyalty, they drive their ambitious young hires into the ground with a cutthroat work environment. Of course, if you're willing to do anything, and a little bit lucky, you may find yourself in a corner office like Derek here, a fresh junior executive trying to balance his inherently empathetic nature by leeching some goodwill out of fending off a business bro with his corporate persona that drives him to bitch about his missing coffee mug and blow off his family so he can work. He takes a 9 o'clock with Melanie Cross, a mortgage borrower who has come disguised as an attorney in an attempt to stave off a foreclosure through self-negotiation. The ruse is quickly uncovered, but that's all good because she doesn't play by the rules. Unless, of course, it means she'll get in trouble. She really wants to keep her house. As she's escorted out by security, we zoom as close in on some water as you can get without getting your eyes wet. This reveals that Derek is getting some of that ID7 all up in him. Derek gets the inside scoop that he's being railroaded by a co-worker. On his way to deal with that, we see the business bros got that stank eye, and he's been touching a little bit of everything. He's traveling to the 8th floor to discuss the Vandecorp fiasco with Kara, the perpetrator of this fraud, who is not only a queen of subversive rumors, but is also an elite hacker, and that she managed to drag him into the middle of this by updating a spreadsheet. He put his name on it. He insists he was never even on the project, but back at his office, they find a planted folio that makes it seem like he's been doing a lot of work on it. His plan to rectify this is to take the incriminating evidence to the partner in charge. On the way up, the rivals enjoy some playful mommy-daddy banter, but they're all business when they get to the desk. They're both offered a chance to plead their case via stick card, which is how business is done nowadays. Derek feels pretty good about his assertions, but then is dismissed so Mr. Towers can have some one-on-one time with Kara, which seems not favorable. In a funk, he goes to confer with his friend Ewan, a seasoned-centered pro who recommends he do the opposite of everything he just did. But before he actually did it, they discover just how too late for all that it is when Kara comes in to give Derek the heads up that he's done for. As he sulks back to his office, the board of directors vote on his fate with hand signals, as is the way of business. The end result is a visit from HR Lester, the career Grim Reaper. He's given a statement to sign that confirms his responsibility for the Vandecorp errors. Despite the healthy severance attached, he just can't see himself working anywhere else. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a choice in the matter. But as the day comes to an early close, SWAT rolls up to assist the CDC in conducting a full-blown quarantine lockdown, allowing Derek to stay a little longer. They have viral sniffers installed in the ductwork that detected the presence of ID7, so they've commenced with the neutralization protocol, which should run its course in approximately 8 hours. They just need to keep it cool until then. But Derek is already experiencing degradation of the frontal lobe and is overcome with an intense desire to plead his case to the board. It is strongly recommended that he avoid this, but he does not. Meanwhile, the corporate overlords are being debriefed about what to expect, and it leaves them really hoping the espresso machine garnered enough goodwill to counteract the stress built up from years of cultivating a hostile work environment. Despite the clear and present danger, Towers is more concerned about all the salary spent and going to waste downstairs, and he orders everyone back to work under threat of termination sans severance. When Derek gets on the elevator, he's granted an access code, but it dumps him out directly into the basement. Here, he's to be taken care of. As Towers delights in the sounds of grinding cartilage, he foolishly puts out into the world the notion of liability-free murder that exists under their current circumstances. Ewan can feel his bro deeply, so he arrives at the basement and attempts to save the day, but he bungles it severely, resulting in his own death, which Derek witnesses before being put to sleep. He wakes up in a holding cell with Melanie where things quickly turn erotic. All this spit abusing knocks loose an idea from his brain. They can both relieve themselves of their shoulder chips by working as a team to take out Towers, who fired him, and Smythe, who runs the foreclosure project. This is an offer so good that they make a viral truce and redirect their accentuated rage toward a common enemy. Derek then uses his talents for finding legal loopholes to find a physical loophole, cobbling together a conference call between Towers and Vandecorp. Soon Towers is groveling at the feet of his client Daddy, now that he knows that they were advised to avoid taking legal action only because TSC had missed the window for filing a motion. To emphasize his hurt feelings, he rips up the most recent paper invoice from TSC, fully removing any contractual obligation to pay it, so there. When security arrives, Melanie leverages the art of distraction to allow Derek to leverage the art of smashing faces with 2x4s. Only afterward does he break into the contraband cage to really upgrade their carnage capabilities. The next step in the plan is to work their way up the chain of security clearance to acquire a penthouse keycard. Living a life of constant conflict, Lester spends his ID7 time bonsaiing. To the extreme, he strolls out to see if he can get his steps in, and is immediately confronted and assaulted. Superior cane play only saving him temporarily. Luckily for him, even with everything going on, security is still tunneling hard on his assailants. They're forced to split up, and Derek navigates the cubicles like Neo from that one movie. He manages to demonstrate how their non-lethal measures have left them ill-equipped to deal with the current stakes. He then finishes his circle back to Lester as he's busy trying to wake up Melanie. When they finally get their face-to-face, Lester claims that he shouldn't be held to account because it was the firm that wronged him.
You can't kick a firm's ass.
Exactly the problem, friend. But this was all a ploy for Lester to seek an advantage, resulting in a situation that requires extreme measures. But they can laugh about it after. For some reason, Derek then does a live stream reading off the details from the case that set the legal precedent for ID7 violence, an outcome he is responsible for after he found the statutory loophole. And this is really all stuff they should all be familiar with already. Towers tries to head things off by calling Kara to convince her not to turn over her keycard. She hesitates to part way with her only leverage, so he offers to make her partner when this is all over. The offer is almost too good to pass up, so she accepts it, but then has Meg hide the card from her just in case she needs it later. Meanwhile, we learn that the CDC can only offer counseling for people going through it with the virus. They cannot send armed combatants into the milieu. Since Towers can't negotiate government-subsidized murder, he puts out a significant bounty on Derek of close to $500,000. So when they make for the elevator, there's a strange, quiet sensation that something is up. Sure enough, they find themselves facing down the riffraff. Derek is put on speakerphone with a CDC psychologist, who tries to talk him down, but he talks over him with some ground rules for the violence that is to come. After laying out all the requisite warnings, the gang proves to be all in, so they proceed with the 2v5. Everyone gets a chance to demonstrate their prowess in inflicting bodily harm. It just so happens that some people are both more naturally gifted than others, and have already put in the practice to achieve excellence. They then go to acquire the keycard, and Kara begins the negotiations. Since they will need a code in addition to the card, she is able to barter a truce. As a result, she calls in the keycard. However, Meg delivers a charred bit of plastic instead. She reveals that the board offered her a promotion in anticipation of the inevitable double cross. And now, only after establishing that fact set, does she take vengeance on her former boss for being an ass. Derek gets wistful about the time he wasted working for the company and apologizes for his abundant zeal in not helping her. This outpouring is mixed with intense anger as Towers sends a video he shot of him pissing all over Ewan's body for some reason. This really gets the ID7 emotions ramped up, causing Derek to cry excessively, and for Melanie to comfort him excessively, with a session of speedy, fully clothed lovemaking, the most erotic kind, since it keeps you guessing about what's under there. Now that they're officially boyfriend and girlfriend, they set to the task of figuring out how to address the elevator issue. They start by hooking up with Ryan in IT, giving him a little motivation to hack into Smythe's computer. Being an expert in social engineering, he cuts shuts off her Wi-Fi, then asks her to install a patch to fix it. Once done, he makes a copy of her hard drive before remotely destroying her computer. After that, with all her hard work on the line, it doesn't take much to convince her to come down and talk things out with them. It's to take place at a meeting spot of their determination, which has been outfitted with Colton's piece. Of course, they have a mind for violence, so it's not like she's gonna pull one over on him. They get the keycard fairly easily, but when she refuses to do anything about the foreclosure, things get serious. Before resolving this, Colton arrives and draws Derek off. Also, we see that the old gal's got some life in her yet. In the playroom, Colton empties his gun so he can do this in a more personal and direct way. He's so determined that he even brushes off a full pectoral penetration, vowing to make this hurt long and slow-like. Luckily, a noxious spray to the eyes can be easily reversed by opening one's mouth very wide. Derek then spits and stabs his way to a well-earned victory. When he returns to the conference room, Melanie has regained the upper hand, but Smythe holds the fact that they need an access code along with the keycard to barter for a few minutes alone with Melanie as payback over her smashed hard drive. Derek agrees, and Melanie wakes up betrayed, but he has his ways of smoothing things over. As he boards the elevator, he reveals to Smythe that he did a thing with his tongue, and so now the tables have been turned yet again. Derek psychs himself up Fight Club style and arrives to an unexpected standing O. They're all playing like they're proud of his accomplishments and even offer him a chance to be partner with full bennies. But he remembers why he came, and he and Towers prepare to put on a show for the board. The two bulls face off and go toe-to-toe, with Towers taking an upper hand with the old coke in the eye trick. He leverages this into a Casey Jones technique, but you can't keep down the working man. Derek pummels him toward the rail, then puts his fate to a vote. They say yes, and just to make certain,
I'll piss on your corpse as well.
Towers reminds him of that awful thing he did, for some reason. Derek takes this moment to plead his case regarding the Vandecorp incident with the board, who all give him a thumbs up. So he signs on to be partner, signs the mortgage document, and then quits. Then, either through an intense connectedness stemming from their acutely traumatic experience, or from a deep shared sociopathy that prevents them from recognizing the plight of other individuals, their relationship makes it through, and they make it work. So this movie has lots to say, possibly too much to say, but only because it chooses to literally say everything. I respect the desire to connect up the plot points and try to give good reasons why various characters are behaving the way they do, but this is presented to us over and over and over again through expositional dialogue or narrative voiceover monologue. It's a bit much. Just to clarify, Derek was upset about getting railroaded by Kara, but her ability to out-argue him to Towers was fair play. His disgruntlement against Towers came from him subsequently refusing Derek the opportunity to plead his case to the board before they took their vote. Melanie's issue with Smythe came from the fact that Smythe's branch of the business was the one responsible for the banking client that was foreclosing on her home. She was looking for them to influence the client to make an alternate decision. Smythe's reciprocal animus came from Melanie hammering on her hard drive, which erased years of her hard work. That wasn't clear to me until she said it later, because even after Melanie hammered, the screen still showed some sort of generic work-related graphic on it. Plus, that general concept also had some strong Zoolander-style where are the files vibes to it. I'm not going to spend too much time questioning the various actions and motivations of the characters because it would take too long. Sure, they were infected and acting impulsively, but then the movie tried to convince us repeatedly that the characters were playing the game and trying to come out of this ordeal unharmed and in charge of their situations. I'm not sure that excuse works. I think most broadly, the way things were set up within this corporation seemed like a huge contrivance to elicit the outcomes needed for the story. The 9 voting on firing employees, the various ways this consulting firm either advised or straight up acted autonomously on behalf of their clients in various situations, the strange relative involvement of the partners who both let others do their dirty work but then also slopped around in the muck with the peasants, it just all felt very uneven to me. The office environment felt a little like a kid describing what they think their daddy does for work. The way this most broadly impacts the quality of the movie is that it makes it clear that no matter what strange circumstances the characters face, there's going to be some alternate way out of it that will see them proceeding toward their goal no matter what. It took me out of it somewhat. For example, it's established up front that along with a keycard, you have to announce to the elevator god who you're going to meet and on what floor. They give you a one-time passcode to use in conjunction with your card to get there. So the plan with the keycard ladder climb was only ever half a plan to begin with. The whole scenario with Smythe coming down would likely have been necessary regardless of what happened with Kara. But additionally, why did that even work anyway? Smythe got the code, but couldn't the guy see what happened in the elevator? Couldn't he stop the elevator? Maybe he didn't care, but if not, then why was he asking questions and handing out passcodes? I mean, you know me, I greatly enjoy some straight up garbage, but strained contrivances just start to annoy me after a while, and this movie was full of them. As a point of comparison, the primary conflict of the Belko experiment involved an outside entity creating a specific type of situation, so they had to come up with various ways to set the rules and ensure compliance while preventing escape. It may have been far-fetched, but it was orchestrated within the context of the movie. In Mayhem, they're creating a similar type of pot boiling over scenario, but they have to attempt to set things up to unfold organically. ID7 causes loss of impulse suppression and exaggerated emotional responses. Not necessarily violence and not necessarily pandemonium. These people could still think and make choices. They didn't have to go after each other. That's a much more difficult setup to pull off, but that is what they chose to do. I think the concept that they didn't thoroughly think these things through is supported by the plot being advanced multiple times by characters showing up to where other characters were with no reason given as to why they knew to go there. To that end, I think we can cut them some slack. The movie still has fun and keeps the action going. It's supported by a fantastic cast, and is given some added realism, courtesy of Samara Weaving's now trademarked, to me, pained, desperate scream. And in fairness, it critically outclasses the Belko experiment in basically every category. So maybe I'm the idiot here. This is a solid entry into the horror satire genre, more specifically to the office violence category. I would compare this obviously to the Belko experiment, but then it has a similar feel to other movies of the era that combine fast-paced action with horror and comedy or satire, like Cooties or Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. If you're into that, or if you're looking for something light, breezy, and not too long, this would be a good choice. Before we go, I'd like to give a huge thanks to my donors, memorialized in the Hall of Headshots. I have a website set up where you can support the channel through donations or merch. Any donation unlocks a growing collection of uncensored movie recaps. And if you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to become part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.